COPWATCH, policing the police every single day.
Wow, finally some truth about the out-of-control police state in America. And Charlotte County Sheriff Bill Prummell is at the forefront of that. He puts people in jail for one joint of pot. A waste of time and money of the taxpayer. But he doesn't care, he just believes in a unconstitutional military police state that doesn't believe in the Constitution or your rights. He still doesn't have body cameras, car cameras or court cameras because it's just so damn corrupt here. Week in review. Offenders should still be treated with humanity. An administration not known for policy creativity is unlikely to have useful internal policy debates. But in the Trump administration, prison reform is a welcome exception. This is largely due to the efforts of President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, who, in common with millions of poor and minority children in America, has had the searing experience of visiting a father in prison. Kushner has displayed considerable passion in recruiting conservatives to the cause of prison reform. He has been opposed by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who seems stuck in a get-tough-on-crime time warp. In the context of this disagreement reflected in the broader conservative movement, the House of Representatives has passed a worthwhile but watered-down bill called the First Step Act. This legislation would make changes on the exit side of incarceration, increasing funding for education and job training programs and allowing inmates to earn credits for early release. As a result of opposition from Sessions and others, the bill does not focus on the entrance side of incarceration sentencing reform that would encourage alternatives to imprisonment for less dangerous offenders. In the Senate, the Republican chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, is pushing for comprehensive reform that covers both exit and entrance. And Grassley is urging Trump to use his tweeting superpower to endorse a bolder approach. Conservatives are split on issues surrounding prison reform. But the debate is happening for a supremely conservative reason, because states have demonstrated it can work. In the current issue of National Affairs, Lars Trotman and Arthur Reiser provide a helpful survey of a red state policy revolution. States such as Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana have taken a series of measures to divert addicts and people with mental health problems away from incarceration, to limit mandatory minimums and to make wider and better use of parole. The theory is simple. America's vast experiment in routine incarceration, which has quadrupled the American incarceration rate since 1972, had some effect in reducing contact between dangerous offenders and potential victims. But recidivism rates are dismal. And millions of relatively non-dangerous people have been swept up into a justice system that puts them in intimate contact with dangerous offenders, exposes them to rape and violence, deprives their families of emotional and financial support, and sends them back into communities without skills and stamped with a felony stigma. Given that the main deterrent to crime is not the severity of punishment but its certainty, prison and sentencing reforms are designed to provide a broader range of penalties and treatment options to courts, along with greater discretion in employing them. This means that the violent criminals get treated differently from nonviolent criminals, who get treated differently from addicts, who get treated differently from the mentally disabled, who get treated differently from parole violators, instead of sweeping them all into expensive prison beds. States have done more than apply a theory. They have demonstrated something practical, hopeful and remarkable. This renaissance has been led in large part by Deep Red Texas, Wright Trotman and Reiser, which, by instituting a series of smart on-crime initiatives in the last decade, accomplished a feat previously believed to be impossible: the simultaneous reduction of its crime, recidivism, and incarceration rates. While the crime rate index fell by 20% nationally from 2007 to 2014, it fell by 26% in Texas. The state, meanwhile, closed 8 prisons. What does this mean for the Kushner/Sessions conflict? It means that the criminal justice views of the Attorney General are far to the right of the Texas state legislature, which puts him in small and disturbing company. It means that Sessions' opposition to sentencing reform is rooted in vindictiveness and ideology rather than a conservative respect for facts and outcomes. and it means that Sessions has learned nothing from federalism, which he seems to respect only when it fits his preconceptions. One of the reasons this good idea should succeed in Washington is to demonstrate that any good idea can succeed in Washington. Two other scholars, Stephen Telles and David Doggone, have called prison and sentencing reform an example of transpartisanship, which they define as agreement on policy goals driven by divergent, deeply held ideological beliefs. Liberals look at mass incarceration and see structural racism. Libertarians see the denial of civil liberties. Fiscal conservatives see wasted resources. Religious activists see inhumane conditions and damaged lives. All these convictions converge at one point: we should treat offenders as humans, with different stories and different needs, instead of casting them all into the same pit of despair. Michael Gerson's email address is michaelgerson@washpost.com.
Hey, Sheriff, we have a question about why your office, your intelligence division, is investigating private citizens for criminal investigation that happen to be activists that are overseeing your department. Why would you have your intelligence division investigate private citizens? We have done...
for life hating so much.
Sir, we don't hate anyone. We love freedom and we love American people. And government is out of control. That's why you're seeing such a revolt nationwide. Why can't you just answer, why is Susan Edwards, your intelligence division, investigating private citizens? This should not happen.
Are you here to apply for a job?
Possibly I might be applying for a job, but that's irrelevant to my question. Why would you ask that question?
Well, enjoy the fair.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Excuse you?
Excuse me, sir.
So those of you that haven't
Wow.
been on a bike before, we're
Sheriff's
just
getting a little too pushy. You work for us, Sheriff. Just keep that in mind. At one time we respected you, but not with that type of attitude.
police use who may want to retaliate against him physically.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.